You think you know what a teenager is, right? The angst, the rebellion, the whole finding yourself thing. But what if I told you that entire experience might just be a story? A story that, for most of the world, isn't even true. What if adolescence, as we know it, is actually a myth? Let's dig in.
Okay, let's do a quick thought experiment. I say the word teenager. What pops into your head? I'm guessing high school, right? Maybe some drama, arguing with your parents, that whole awkward phase of figuring out who you are. It feels like this universal, totally unavoidable part of growing up. But is it? Let's really put that idea to the test. To do that, I want you to imagine someone. Picture this young woman. Back in her home country, life made sense. It had a certain rhythm. She knew exactly what her role was in the family. She was learning the skills she'd need for her future. Her journey to becoming an adult wasn't some lowly quest. It was a clear path, one that her whole community understood and supported. But then, everything changes. She moves to a new country, and suddenly, people start calling her a teenager. And that word, well, it comes with this whole set of really weird expectations. Like suddenly, everyone expects her to rebel against her parents, to be totally lost about her future, to have this intense need to break free and, find herself. And for her, this is just bizarre. It's totally alien. She doesn't feel any of that. She's just completely and utterly bewildered.
And that bewilderment, that's actually the key to this whole thing. Her confusion isn't just a personal story. It shines a light on this giant crack in how we think about growing up.
See, what's really important to get here is that her confusion isn't just her problem. It's a clue for us. It points to this huge, hidden bias, this assumption that most of us make about what it means to grow up. And believe me, that assumption is about to get completely flipped on its head. So, let's talk about what that assumption is. It's this idea that's so deeply ingrained, most of us don't even know we have it.
Basically, we assume that the turbulent journey from child to adult is just a fact of life. It's biological. The mood swings, the identity crisis, the push for independence, we think it's just hardwired into our brains, something that happens to every human between, say, 13 and 19. No matter where you are, no matter when you lived, it's universal, or so we think.
But what if it's not? What if that whole picture we have of a teenager isn't universal at all? What if it's based on a really, really small and frankly pretty unusual slice of the world's population?
Okay, it's time to meet this group, because they are the absolute key to solving this puzzle. We're going to talk about W.E.I.R.D. people.
And no, I'm not just calling them weird. W.E.I.R.D. is actually an acronym. It stands for Western, Educated, Industrialized, Rich, and Democratic. And here's the kicker. This specific group of people is who pretty much all of our modern psychological research is based on.
Now take a look at this. People from these W.E.I.R.D. countries, they only make up about 12.5% of the entire world's population. So already they're a pretty small minority. But wait, it gets way, way more specific.
Because when you drill down and look at who is actually participating in the studies, the ones that define what we think of as normal human behavior, the number just plummets. Seriously, brace yourself for this. 0.2%. Yeah, just let that sink in for a second.
That's it. That tiny fraction of a percent of the global population is who we're talking about. And who are they? Mostly, they're undergraduate psychology students in these weird countries. This one, very specific group has been the basis for what we've been calling universal human psychology. We've basically taken one very particular cultural experience and pretended it's the truth for everyone.
Okay, so if the W.E.R.D. model of being a teenager isn't the only one, what does growing up look like for, the other 99.8% of the planet? This visual here explains it so well. Look, everyone deals with things like family, work, and finding a sense of self. Those themes are universal, for sure. But the meaning behind them, that changes dramatically from culture to culture. Think back to our girl. For her, family meant duty, contribution. But in her new home, it's often seen as something you need to break away from to become an adult. It's kind of like everyone has flour, water, and salt, but some people are making bread and others are making pasta. Same ingredients, totally different outcomes. And that means different cultures are just asking different questions about what it means to grow up. Are there specific rites of passage you go through? Is your main goal to support your family, or is it to go find yourself?
Is love something that's all about your personal choice, or is it about your duty to your family and community? The way a culture answers these questions completely shapes the experience of being an adolescent.
So, knowing all this, how does it change how we see things? Let's pull it all together.
Let's go back to that girl from the beginning, the one who was so confused. The thing is, there was nothing wrong with her. She wasn't lost or abnormal. She was just a perfectly normal person from her culture who happened to land in a very weird one. The map she had for growing up just didn't work in this new place.
And that, right there, is the biggest takeaway. Our understanding of the world is completely shaped by where we happen to be standing in it. We like to think we're looking at reality through a clear window, but the truth is, we're all looking through our own culturally colored glasses.
So I want to leave you with a question to chew on. Now that you know just how narrow our definition of adolescence has been, what's one thing you always just assumed was true about the teenage years that you might start to question now?